Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Ron Jackson, and today I'm here to share with you everything you need to know about the Blessing Loom, the gifting circle, the flower, the modern Susu, the family and friends flower. You've heard it go by many different names, and this is interesting because this is nothing new. It happens ordinarily around times of financial crisis, times when people are most desperate to try to find ways to earn new money, to get on a new hustle. And quite frankly, there are individuals who are not even necessarily in a desperate situation, but who couldn't use 8 times their initial investment. And so that is what I'm here to talk with you about today. It's about this idea that somehow, some way, this blessing loom or gifting circle or modern Susu has begun to have tremendous force and sway within the Black community. I can tell you that I found out about it from a colleague of mine, and then within a week, I heard about it from another friend of mine, and then from there, I heard about it from a friend's friend, and then another friend reported that his cousin or uncle or whoever. I mean, it is sweeping the Black community right now in the United States, and perhaps even beyond that. I am going to share with you the truth about it because I personally experienced it over the last 4 weeks. And I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand what was happening. And I'm a fairly smart individual. I'm a professor. I am a researcher. I ordinarily do all of my due diligence, and I did some due diligence, but I didn't do enough. There's not enough detail out there. All the other videos you'll see, typically they'll tell you that it's a scam or that it's illegal, but they don't explain why or how it's a scam or even why or how it's illegal. I'm going to give you the details to help you make an informed decision. I am not necessarily here to tell you not to do it, but you will find out by the end of the video what my particular perspective of it is. You have to make your own decision, and you have to figure out whether or not this is going to be a risk that you're willing to take. But let's get into it. I think it's important for you to learn more about what this whole brouhaha is all about. So that's the goal here. All right. The very first thing I want to share with you is why I got into it in the first place. And let me just say this. I'm only making this video because I think it's important that if there's this many people that are being disproportionately affected by this brand new sweep in the nation, I feel they should know the truth. So I'm here to present the truth, and that's what my primary goal is. I also have family and friends and colleagues that are close to me who I have found are interested in doing this, but they don't understand. So this is an educational video. Share it far and wide. It's important for people to know exactly what this thing is all about. So let's get into it. I can start off first by saying how I got essentially so compelled, what I would say even really sucked into wanting to do this particular thing. It was introduced to me as a Susu. I came to find out later that it's not a Susu because Susus are a social banking network that happens within communities where individuals share in a process where they don't need a bank. They just use each other as a way to grow money, as a way to save money. And so that is exactly what I'm talking about. First, you have number one, in a traditional Susu, and there's many names for it across the world. In West Africa and the Caribbean, you hear a lot about there being a Susu. Well, typically it's a person, for example, that might get together with 10 individuals, no more than 10, say, for example, and each person gives $100 a month for 10 months. What that would equal is that after 10 months, you would have contributed $1,000. And then in one of those months, you get the lump sum of $1,000. So you contribute 1,000, you get out 1,000. That's a traditional Susu. There are also traditional Susus where individuals are essentially taking out loans. They'll get a $10,000 loan to help start something, start a business or something, and then they'll pay into it and essentially treat it like a typical social banking setup or a credit union where you are a member of this thing and you're just paying into it and paying back what you owe as you would a traditional loan, but without using the banks and using it from a social banking network. Okay, so that's kind of in some ways microfinancing of sorts. And I won't get into all of that, but let's just say that's typically what traditional Susu is. The modern Susu, and there really is no such thing, it's a misnomer, but people have co-opted the term. It's really a blessing loom. It's really a gifting circle. It's really a family and friends flower as it's being introduced. And it is basically the proposition that when you are solicited, you are told that you can give a certain amount of money and that your money will multiply 8 times. So if you have $100, in 4 weeks, you will have $800. If you have $500 and you give $500, in 4 weeks, you will have $4,000. And there's even a $1,400 one and a $3,000 one where your money will multiply 8 times. So I'm just telling you about that. Some of these are also presented in the form of not just a 4-week process, but also something known as boards. A board can happen much more quickly. An individual gives the money, and it's possible within 24 to 48 hours, they will get the 8-time multiplier of their investment. But keep in mind, there's several different aspects, and I want to break those down to you because it sounds exciting so far, and who wouldn't want to do it? And so let me tell you why I got brought in. I got sucked into this because it was introduced to me as, number one, that if I give the money now, I will in 4 weeks get the money back. So there was no qualifier. There was no comment like you might get the money or you probably won't get the money. It was, you will get the money in 4 weeks. So give it to me now, you'll get it in 4 weeks. And then when I asked them, are you sure? Is there anybody that's gotten it? You know anybody that's gotten it? Of course, there are people who say, yeah, my friend got it, or yeah, I'm getting it, or I just got paid, right? But what you should know is that at the beginning of the process of developing these gifting flowers, people do tend to get paid at the very beginning. It's the people that are 3, 4, 5 weeks in that don't get paid. In other words, that as the flower or the gifting circle or the family and friends flower, as that matures and it's into week 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, that's when you start seeing people drop off, people not being able to recruit their individuals, the flower stalling, and the people not getting their money. And sometimes it can happen sooner than that 7th or 6th week. It can happen even in the 4th or 5th week. So it's very interesting how that happens. But I want to tell you that I got excited about it because I thought I could multiply my money. I got excited about it because I was told that it was definitely going to happen in 4 weeks. I got excited about it because they were introducing it as cooperative economics. I mean, it was this concept that somehow our people have been not allowed to thrive and that we should have an opportunity to thrive. And so why not pull together our money collectively to build Black wealth? Wow. I was like, that sounds exciting. So it was introduced to me as the Kwanzaa principle of Ujamaa. I've heard people talk about all kinds of things. One person even told me that it was the process through which the Underground Railroad was funded, right? It sounds laughable in retrospect, but at the time, you're listening to everything and you're not doing all your fact checking initially, you're just listening to hear people's perspectives. So all I know is that I was brought into it because it had an Afrocentric flavor to it. It felt like it was about building community and building wealth. It felt good to know that I can actually, get rid of any debt that I might have, or I might be able to build certain kind of wealth and savings. I was excited. It sounded too good to be true. And you always hear people say, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Well, at the time I thought, nah, you know what, let's just see. Let's see how this goes. I read a lot of articles, looked at videos. I looked at Boyce Watkins' video, which was really interesting for his Black Business School. But it didn't answer the question that I'm getting ready to answer for you today. And so I just thought this is really, really interesting information. How do I move forward? So what I'm going to do now is to share with you a couple of things. One, I'm going to share with you the recruitment process. Then after I finish the recruitment process, I'm going to explain to you, I want to share with you questions you should be asking if you're considering joining a Blessing Loom or Blessing Circle. And then finally, I'm going to tell you what they should be telling you if they're really honest with you. If they're really honest, these are the things they should be telling you. All right. So I'm going to go through this whole thing. I want to share my screen with you. I want you to pay attention to what I tell you and what I'm telling you about how they're going to introduce it to you and what this particular idea is all about. All right, so let's get started. Okay. Here we go. Here we have a family and friends flower or blessing loom, or what some people call a gifting circle or seeding. Some people say you're seeding the gift. I've even heard ministers use scriptures from First Corinthians about seeding money, and how you got to, create the seed for your harvest. And so the blessing of the harvest is going to be, so it gets your mind set on harvesting a significant amount of money. And you might only get 4,000 or 3,500 after the initial period, but you're going to grow. And so let me just share with you how it's done. All right. So it's called a flower, usually family and friends flower, something like that. And you always learn about what's the elephant in the room. And they explain why you're here and how does it work and what keeps it going and what your responsibilities are and so forth. So the elephant in the room is pretty simple. The elephant in the room is that the family flower works if and only if you have the right people. The presumption is that they got to be the same mindset, the same idea. They got to care about building Black wealth. They have to be willing to do that work. That felt like a challenge to me. I thought, man, if I can do that, then, I mean, that's already who I am. I believe in building my community. I believe in building wealth. And I'm all about teamwork. And I'm like, this is me. They're talking to me. Very interesting rhetoric here. People are joining because of a variety of reasons. They have credit card debt because the pandemic is happening and they're thinking to themselves, how am I going to get past this point where I might have lost a job? Maybe they want to pay off a house. Maybe they're in a situation where now they have certain student loan debt. Maybe it's because they, the protests, the Black Lives Matter protests, and they're thinking no one cares about us. I'm going to think about how I can build our community because then we can really make it happen. Or maybe you're thinking, I want to save money for a vacation. Maybe I'm getting ready to have an anniversary, or I want got an upcoming celebration. Or that you're looking at all the traditional instruments for building wealth, like stocks and bonds and mutual funds, et cetera. And you're thinking, none of it is going to earn me the money at the rate that I want to earn it. And so I want to build money fast. Or you're thinking the retirement piece. Oh man, you're thinking, wow, if I could just retire, that would be freaking amazing. I'm loving this idea of retirement. So you're already thinking about it. And then they explain to you, well, here's the idea, right? The way that it works is it's a 4-week process. Week 1, you are fire. Week 2, you're air. Week 3, you're earth. Week 4, you are water. In week 1, as fire, your job is just to pay the $500 into the system. Week 2, your job is to recruit 2 new fires. Week 3, help the entire circle operate. Week 4, you collect those dollars, those cash apps. And that's how it typically goes. So here's the process. These are all fictitious names. So this happens to be your name. This is not you necessarily. This is all fictitious. All right. In this case, you have Thomas. Thomas is the individual in the position to receive money. He's going to receive, in this case, $500 from all these people that have fires around the edge. That is Sinai, Amber, Oscar, Rochelle, Angel, Rick, Melissa, Dr. Gray. They're all going to pay $500 to the person in the middle, which is Thomas, right? Then at that point, what you have is that as they pay, each one of them pays, that total dollar amount is going to be $4,000 to Thomas. Now, what happens then, pay attention to Sinai, okay? Sinai now is in the position where the flower closes and Thomas goes ahead, he reinvests his money, right? So he pays $500 to his initial person that got him into the water, where he was initially paying the $500. Then after that, the process repeats. So again, the next person on the list does the same exact thing where they pay $500 to the person in the middle, and then that person reinvests their $500 to their original person. Week 2, now you see that Sinai went from being on the outside as a fire to now being an individual here as an heir. And so he's moving up to week 2. Now, Sinai doesn't pay any money this week, right? The fires are all paying the person in the middle, okay? Now, at this point, Walter's getting paid the money. Walter basically is paid by Faith, Zion, Derek, Brenda, right? And these other fires here potentially are all going to pay Walter. Now, what you notice is that these other fires don't have names. Right now, that means that the flower is stalled. That means that there is no way that he can go on and move to the next week until he gets paid his full amount of money. Once he's paid by all 8 fires, then he no longer is in the center of the circle. But for now, he'll stay in the center until he gets paid. If these 4 fires have already paid him, then that means he's now gotten 500 times 4, which is $2,000. Not bad even still, because he's only put $500 in initially, so he's gotten 4 times his initial investment. Eventually, the flower closes and it moves on to the next individuals. So keep in mind, now those individuals that were on the outside begin to become heirs. Sinai moved up to an earth, and there's another person in the middle in the water position. These individuals, Elijah, Isa, Marcus, Shay, Faith, Amari, Kiara, and Kyra, all pay $500 to Jason. So the same process repeats itself. Sinai is now moved up. Flower closes, and now it splits. The reason why it splits is because what you notice is that the top half of the circle now has quite a few people. And there's 2 people in the position of earth. They both need to be in the center of their own circle. In order to do that, they have to split the flower. So all the people on the top come and enter into this new flower, and all the people on the bottom, they also enter into their own flower. So now Amber has her own flower because she was earth, and Sinai was earth. Now you notice they both are in the water, but they have their own flowers, which means they have to have recruits of all new fires. The people who are in the air position will do that. All right. Once the people in the air position all pay, then Sinai will get $500 from each individual. Keisha, Andrew, Malcolm, Antoine, Zola, Mike, Renee, Danielle, they're all new fires. They'll all pay $500 directly to Sinai. And so those 5 people, those 8 people multiplied times 5 equals $4,000. Now Sinai is moving out of the water. Her flower closes and she's done. Okay, now she's been blessed. She will pay back the person who brought her in, who she initially paid, which was Thomas. He'll get his $500. And this is supposed to continue every single month for the rest of her life. She'll continue to be blessed. And that's the story that she hears, and that's what keeps her going. That's what excites her. She's going to keep getting re-gifted over and over and over and over again. And all she's got to do is out of her $4,000, put $500 back in order to re-gift, to keep the cycle going. That is how they recruit you for the family flower. That's really, really important. And I just want to emphasize this, that a lot of times what happens is that people will get so excited about this idea of being gifted that they forget the basic principles of what happens when you enter into these kinds of deals where things appear to be too good to be true. But here's where I want to share with you the next details. I think it's really, really important. All right, number 1 is that you've seen the recruitment process. Here's the kind of things they tell you. They tell you things like, this is only for Black people, right? Or they'll say, we found a loophole. The loophole is that you will be getting gifts. And because you're getting gifts, you can get up to $15,000 in gifts from any single individual to really partake in what's known by the IRS as the gift tax. What they don't tell you is that a gift is defined by the IRS as a transfer of property for less than its full value. In other words, if you got $500 and you give that, then you shouldn't get any more than $500 back. In fact, you should get no more than $499. Instead, you're giving $500 and expecting a multiplier of 8. Therefore, it does not constitute a gift, and therefore it is a taxable event, and they need to be telling you that. But they're not telling you that. Also, there's this idea of the present interest gift. The present interest gift is when a recipient has unrestricted use to the money immediately, All right, so this is considered a present interest gift idea, but it doesn't constitute that because it simply does not meet the smell test as it relates to how the gift is defined. Again, the gift is a transfer of property for less than its full value. That makes it illegal, or it makes it tax evasion if you choose not to file your taxes around that. Questions you should be asking. If I were you, I'd be asking the question like, I've heard the gifting loom is unsustainable over time. How long will it last? I'm going to tell you, when I've heard people ask that question before, people who are organizing and administering these gifting flowers and seating circles and all this, and blessing looms, what I've heard the answer be is, oh, well, it will last forever as long as people keep getting recruited. One person even said in this Christian group that we're going to keep doing this till the wheels fall off. Another person said, we're going to do this till Jesus comes back. And of course, the response was quite a lot of snickering and laughter because, of course, everyone's thinking, wow, this is going to be awesome the rest of my life. I love it. Another question you should ask is, how many people will I have to recruit? Usually they say, oh, you just need to recruit 2 people. That's it. You'll never recruit any more than 2 people. What they don't tell you is once that flower stalls, it'll be up to the entire community of people that are on that flower. There's 15 total people to pull together to figure out how they're going to recruit new people. Now, obviously, if there's 15 people that's supposed to be on the flower and there's only 12, then those 12 people have to rally together to figure out how they're going to get the other 3 to be recruited as fires. So that's interesting. How long will it take to get the money? That's another good question to ask. Usually the response is, oh, it just takes 4 weeks. When you ask them, well, is it always 4 weeks? They say, well, that's so far, you've been pretty much at 4 weeks, maybe 4 weeks in a day or 4 weeks in 2 days, right? What they don't tell you is that there's a great possibility that that will break down. In other words, at one point, at the very beginning of the development of flower, everybody begins to get paid. But after the first cycle of 4 weeks, that's when it starts breaking down. And then it can break down as early as the 5th week, or it can break down in the 10th week. It can break down later on than that. It depends on the people, but when it breaks down, you can guarantee that 14 out of 15 people on that flower will not get their money. Because remember, there's only one person in the middle, and that one person is the person who gets the money. So then you say, well, then maybe you should ask, well, did I hear that it's tax-free? And they'll say, yes, absolutely. No taxes up until $15,000 per single individual. We've already disavowed you or disabused you of that particular presumption. If they're going to be honest, this is what they should tell you. There's some very key things you should be listening to. This is what they should be telling you. One is that we are peddling false hope. There is no way every single individual is going to get 8 times their initial investment until Jesus comes back. That's just not going to work. There is no pyramid structure that does that. People call them pyramid schemes and they get thrown off by that. People get thrown off because they say, scheme, nobody's trying to scheme me. But you need to understand, there's nothing inherently illegal with a pyramid structure. Avon, Amway, prepaid legal, they all have multi-level marketing pyramid structures. All that means is that there's 2 people that you're asked to bring in with you when you come in. Or maybe there's more, maybe there's fewer, but there's usually someone else you have to recruit. That's a way to continue the cycle, to bring people in, to create the levels. This is a pyramid structure. That's not what makes it illegal, though. What makes it illegal, and I consulted a judge about this, what makes it illegal is that it is not tied to a product. So when you look at prepaid legal, it's tied to a product. You get a membership where it gives you access to certain services. Or you look at Avon or Amway or Mary Kay, it's tied to products. But anytime there is just an individual who approaches you, solicits you for money, and all they have is a promise that they will multiply your investment, then it is illegal because it is based on only a promise. And this is what the judge told me. So it's very important for us to understand that the process of engaging in a blessing loom, a family and friends flower, a gifting circle, is illegal. It is not tied to a product. It is illegal. So when you get into this, you need to know that up front, you are engaging in illegal activity. Also, you need to understand that if they're going to be honest with you, they would tell you that the process is going to stall, that it is naturally going to stall. There's no way that it won't stall. And when it stalls, 14 out of 15 people on that flower will not get paid. and that could be you. They also should be telling you, why don't you check out the IRS, the Security Exchange Commission, the FBI websites on how they define pyramid structure or pyramid scheme or Ponzi scheme, or even as they call an advanced fee fraud. Here is what makes it illegal. And this is so important because there's people out there just like me who need the evidence. You don't believe just hearing random stuff. You want evidence. Check out section 7201 of the Internal Revenue Code. What it says, and I will read it directly. It says, any person who willfully attempts in any manner to evade or defeat any tax imposed by the title or payment thereof shall, in addition to other penalties provided by law, be guilty of a felony, and upon conviction thereof shall be fined not more than $100,000. That doesn't even include any possible jail time. That's called tax evasion. The second criminal piece that makes this illegal is advanced fee fraud. This is how the FBI defines advanced fee fraud. They describe it as it occurs when the victim pays money to someone in anticipation of receiving something of greater value, such as a loan or a gift, and then receives little or nothing in return. This is codified as a type of consumer fraud, otherwise known as 419 fraud. This is called advanced fee fraud. That is the second crime that is being committed that makes this illegal. The third crime is wire fraud. According to 18 U.S. Code 1343, wire fraud involves an attempt to defraud someone by using electronic means. It carries a penalty of 20 years in prison. That is, in other words, your Cash App. Anytime you send money or receive money through Cash App for the purpose of engaging in an illegal activity, such as a pyramid structure that does not have a product or service tied to it, then automatically that is illegal, and that is wire fraud. And you would be carrying a possible penalty of 20 years per count of wire fraud. Every time you send that $500, that's a new count of wire fraud. Every time you send $100, new count of wire fraud. Every time you receive it, new count of wire fraud. I'm trying to explain to you that you need to try to look at this very carefully. Avoid the prison time. Retain your freedom. Run. Get away from those individuals. You can inform them or educate them if you want, but if you don't want, just walk away. Do not get involved with the pyramid structures. Do not get involved with the Blessing Loom, with the so-called modern Susu, with the family and friends flower. I don't care if it's your pastor telling you to do it. Do not do it. I just lost over $2,000 messing around with the family and friends flower. I just went through that whole process I just explained to you, and I was so devastated. I tried to even make it right by creating a legal structure, an LLC, and then tried to use the Susu, the modern Susu, the Blessing Loom, right? I shouldn't say Susu because it's the wrong term, but the Blessing Loom, right, as a way to fund this new legal entity. And what we discovered was this, that it moves because it doubles, because those flowers split. You go from 2 flowers to 4 flowers to 8 to 16 by the first month. 16 flowers with 15 people in it each. That's 240 people. By the second month, it's 4,096 people. By the third month, it's a total of 64,000 people. What you discover is that by the time you get to that third month, out of the 64,000 people, there are literally over 50,000 people that will not get paid. And you can do the math yourself. All you have to do is stop in month 3. And the reason why you stop is because you want to evaluate. You want to figure out what's going on. You want to see who's getting paid, who's not getting paid. What you're going to discover is that when people do not get recruited, it stalls the flower. And when that stalling happens, 14 out of 15 people on that flower will not get paid. Maybe even 15 out of 15. Maybe the person in the middle won't get paid either. Or maybe they'll only get paid a partial payment. But my point to you is that any system where 80% or more people are going to lose, and it's not a lottery, and it's not a casino, it's not a gambling entity, it's introduced to you as money you will definitely receive, that is a scam. That is illegal. That is what constitutes the kind of fraudulent activity I just mentioned earlier. And I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart, get out of the Blessing Loom if you're in it. Do it immediately. I have a colleague who's expressed to me that the feds are beginning to round people up. Now, I say the feds, I'm talking about the Security Exchange Commission, the IRS, Criminal Investigation Division, the FBI. They're beginning to investigate these different criminal activities associated with the Blessing Loom, the flower, and the gifting circle, and all that. So please, don't let this information, I'm telling you, these details just go in one ear and out the other. I lost money already. I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart, get away from this. You can look at all kinds of websites. Go to the FBI website, go to the Security Exchange website, Security Exchange Commission website. You can go to the IRS website, look up Ponzi scheme, look up pyramid scheme, look up advanced fee fraud, and you will see the same information I'm talking about. You can even look up a recent article in the Washington Post that was published around August 7th. That article also gives you details about any kinds of these Susus and these illegal scams that are out there. And they call them Susus. I'm just referring to what they call it. But we all know there are blessing looms, there are gifting circles, there are family and friends flowers, there are seedings, you can call it all kinds of words. Do not trust it, get away from it, and do it now. This is my personal advice to you. You do what you want to do, but you're putting yourself at risk. That is what I wanted to share with you today. I wanted to give you the details so that no one can say that no one told them. And then you got to decide now what your decision is going to be. I look forward to seeing how many people are going to be blessed by walking away from this. God bless you. Godspeed.